Morning, but it's afternoon. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad we could all gather here today. My name's Bill Cass. I'm the Commissioner for the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. And we're thrilled here to have FHWA Administrator Shaylin Bott to talk about our project here on the Seacoast and give us some good news. So again, thank you all for coming. And with that, Administrator Bott.
Thank you so much. I got a woo last week when I was in Michigan, but maybe that's because it's my home state. But appreciate any kind of recognition that you get. And I just want to open by saying Happy Earth Day to everybody here. It is part of the reason that we're out announcing all of these grants. And, you know, for us, and I was speaking with Senator Hassan earlier here today, you know, one of the things I'm most proud of is that I was confirmed unanimously by the U.S. Senate in this position. I think part of that is because I've worked in a red state, I've worked in a blue state, and I've worked in a purple state. And when it comes to infrastructure, you know, this is something that works for all Americans. And those three states that I was working in, Kentucky, Delaware, and Colorado, have all faced climate-related challenges. And when I was the Secretary of Transportation in Delaware, we dealt with Hurricane Irene and Superstorm Sandy. And it was a very similar type situation with the coastal highway, a lot of inundation, high tide events that were not necessarily even tied to big storm events anymore. It was just, you know, the wrong moon with the wrong winds, and you would be getting inundation and flooding. And so that's why I'm really excited to be here in New Hampshire today with a couple of senators who voted for the bipartisan infrastructure law. Lots of people who voted for the law, and even those who don't, love a lot of the projects that we show up to announce. But, you know, what is really great today is the $20.2 million that we'll be allocating as part of our Protect program nationwide is to help build resiliency into this coastal highway and to build, and you can see some of the riprap and some of the protection that is there. And what is very clear is after more and more of the storms that are coming in, that protection that was great for decades is not standing up to the 21st century climate, which I think is emblematic of our infrastructure system. The system that was designed in the 20th century isn't able to handle the precipitation rates that we're seeing, the storm rates that we're seeing on an increasing basis. And so whether it's New Hampshire or Texas or Georgia, you know, fires in Hawaii, flooding in Tennessee, you know, we're just seeing more and more of these climate-related events. And so we're super excited to partner with New Hampshire DOT to help start to build resilience into the system, to help protect the coastal highway for 3 miles to the south, and then to continue and build through protect formula grants as well as discretionary grants that are available. So I'm super excited to be here. Looking forward to coming back in a couple of years for the groundbreaking and then the ribbon cutting. But the people who benefit most are the people who live here, who work here, and who rely on tourism and industry, who will have a more resilient system. So I just want to thank everyone for coming out today for this amazing backdrop. And with that, let me turn it over to Senator Shaheen for some comments. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Administrator Bott. It's nice to have you here. He flew in from Michigan this morning, so we're delighted that he's here. And we have a beautiful day. It's a little chillier than we had hoped, but and Commissioner Cass, it's always nice to be here with you. And Chief Walsh, we're delighted to have you join us as well. And I'm always happy when I can be with my colleagues, Senator Hassan and Congressman Pappas in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
We are delighted to be here after spending some extra time in Washington over the weekend. But I'm really excited because I was here right after the January storms. And on 1A, we could see the damage that is happening, as the administrator says, far too often along our seacoast. And as one of the people in the Senate who helped to negotiate the bipartisan infrastructure package, this is exactly the kind of initiative we had in mind when we developed the Protect grants, to recognize that climate change is having a real impact. On this Earth Day, we see that very directly in parts of New Hampshire, and this is a picture of what happens when we don't have the resilience built in to our infrastructure, and that's what this grant is all about. So I'm really excited to join all of you and look forward to having the administrator back in a couple of years when the project is completed, because we know that despite what's happening with climate change, that we are going to continue to live on our seacoast, and that it's very important that we ensure that freedom of commerce can continue, freedom of navigation, freedom of transportation, and that's what these grants are all about. So again, thank you for being here, Commissioner. Thank you for the partnership that we will have at the local, state, and federal level to get this done. Senator Hassan.
Thanks so much, Senator Shaheen. It's great to be here with you. Administrator Bott, welcome to New Hampshire, to Commissioner Cass, and to Chief Walsh. It's great to be here with you too. And I just want to add my congratulations really to the community for your advocacy, which has resulted in things like the bipartisan infrastructure deal. One of my roles on the negotiating team was focusing on communities that would need to be able to build resiliency in the face of climate change. And it's one of the things we've worked on really hard, was to make sure that we not only could repair the kind of damage we've seen from these storms on this 3-mile stretch of Route 1A, but also make sure that we were considering the future and what future weather patterns would look like as we rebuilt. So I am really grateful for everybody who came together in the House and the Senate to negotiate and pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill. I'm very grateful to Senator Shaheen for her leadership in particular in kind of getting us going in the Senate and pulling everybody together from all parts of the country, different political parties, and making sure that we could really focus on what future weather was going to look like as we built out the kind of infrastructure that is so important for all of our communities all across the country. I am also thinking about Earth Day a lot today too. It is Earth Day. It's a reminder of how important the advocacy of Granite Staters and people all across the country has been in ensuring that we preserve our communities and our planet for future generations so that they can enjoy the natural beauty that New Hampshire has to offer and our way of life. This is a reflection of what happens when people raise their voices and describe their experiences to their elected officials and beyond. New Hampshire has a great grassroots advocacy culture. I want to just reinforce to people that this bill happened. These dollars are coming to this project because we have a democracy in which people's voices matter. I can't underscore that enough. This wouldn't have happened without all the people who are here and well beyond. And it's important that we keep going, to come together, to recognize that we have to talk to each other, share our common experiences, and find a way forward. That, more than anything, is what this is about. So thank you all for everything you did to make today happen. We have a lot more work to do. We're going to continue. Congressman Pappas, Senator Shaheen, me, on the other side of the state, Congresswoman Custer, we will continue to travel, to look at what needs to get done, to help understand how severe weather has impacted our communities and our economy, and together we're going to move forward and build a stronger, more resilient future for generations to come. Thank you all very much for your part in this, and now a great fighter for the Seacoast, Chris Pappas.
Thanks. Well, thanks very much, Senator Hassan and Senator Shaheen, for your comments and for your leadership at helping us get the bipartisan infrastructure law negotiated and over the finish line. That was an incredible undertaking to do that, but the real hard work is now implementing this law and getting the benefits out to communities in New Hampshire and across the country. And that's what today is another step in helping us recognize. So I do want to thank Administrator Bott and his team from Federal Highway that are here, to Commissioner Cass and the great team from New Hampshire DOT. Thank you for your dogged determination to make sure that New Hampshire is benefiting from this law and is participating in opportunities to get grant money here to New Hampshire to help us solve some of our challenges. And I know Chief Walsh will speak in a moment. We've got leaders from local communities in Rye and Northampton and other communities on the seacoast here. I see one of our executive counselors, Counselor Stevens, is here as well. Thanks for your work on our state's 10-year plan and other transportation priorities for New Hampshire. This is a moment where, as Granite Staters, we need to continue to come together and find ways to solve problems. And that's exactly what I think is represented in the bipartisan infrastructure law. But we know we've got a lot of challenges on our seacoast. I was out touring some of the damage in Hampton from the January storms recently. These storms are getting more and more severe. We're seeing the impacts on our built infrastructure, on properties up and down the seacoast of New Hampshire. And we just can't be satisfied with the fact that we might repair the damage as the infrastructure used to exist and feel like we're prepared for the future. That's not a recipe for success. We have to be building for the future. And as certainly we work to address the root causes of climate change, we also have to make sure that our communities are able to mitigate the damage that they're seeing and that we're rebuilding in a more resilient and sustainable fashion. So I want to credit all the community members that are part of this effort here to help us secure these funds and help advocate to the highest levels in Washington for the need. And we've got to keep thinking about how this works down the road. We benefit from the fact that there's a state highway running up and down the coast of New Hampshire and that this is eligible for federal highway dollars, but there are lots of other impacts to communities along our coast from climate change that can't just fall on the shoulders of local taxpayers and of our local communities. This has to be a partnership at all levels of government, and that's a message I want to continue to bring with me to Washington. I will also mention that we are, believe it or not, reaching the end of the 5-year bipartisan infrastructure law in the next Congress. And so it's going to be really important to understand what is working now and where we need to double down on our commitment to priorities like resiliency in the next generation of the infrastructure law. And that's something I hope to continue to do as a member of the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee in the House, where I've served for the past 3 terms. So thank you for all being a part of this event. Thanks very much for delivering these federal resources to New Hampshire. And I want to introduce Chief Walsh, who's going to give a little bit of the local perspective in terms of what's happened here in Rye. Chief.
Thank you. I want to welcome everybody to Rye on this beautiful spring day. Just some of the things that I've noticed being a local here and the damage that happened is the responsiveness from federal and state agencies. This is some of the damage that we've been looking at. It's quite devastating to the area of what's happened over these last couple of storms that have happened. One of the things that consistently resonates with me is about the word team, and the taxpayers look, how does it all come together? Well, you're looking at it. You have our federal elected officials, our state elected officials that have been responsive to local. From here, we have the boots on the ground, the employees that do make everything happen together, and we're working together as one team. So we're looking forward to getting the materials, a building plan, and getting things back together the way they were, because we do know that Rye hosts a lot of folks in the seacoast to come visit, and we want you to come visit. But as an example, this is some of the devastation that's happened, and we're asking you to be patient while we try to get this plan in place and get things back to normal. Thank you.
I just want to recognize the chief for being the only person out here without a jacket today. That's dedication.
He's a local.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Senator Hassan, Senator Shaheen, Representative Pappas, and Administrator Bott, Chief Walsh. Very much appreciate everybody's support. This grant is going to be a real shot in the arm to get this project going. We've been working on the designs since storms that happened in 2018. I think the recent storms over the past winter, Senator Shaheen talked about the storm damage in January, just really kind of point out the need and the continued increase of severity and frequency of these storms. We want to rebuild these revetments and stone walls back so they'll be able to withstand those storms and hopefully recover quicker. So I think our project really meets a lot of the intent and the goals and the criteria of the Protect grant, and we're very much looking forward to getting the project commenced and getting underway. This grant will fund the first of what's anticipated to be 3 phases of work as we seek to rebuild these revetments up and down New Hampshire seacoast. So, with that, we'll conclude. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll be around to answer some questions afterwards. But again, thank you again, Administrator Bott.
The last couple of storms over the winter have been intense. However, the general maintenance has been keeping up with it, and more recently we've noticed that the revetment has been given away, and that's due to years and years of the ocean pounding on it. So we need to get something more stable done and more robust revetment put up because of the years that general maintenance hasn't been done, and this will give a good concrete plan to try to how we can do that to withstand some of the storms coming. Well, the coordination between Northampton, Rye, and the New Hampshire DOT in the general maintenance, so we need to have definitely a maintenance program that will be consistent throughout the years. So there'll be some new things done with the underneath infrastructure, underneath the wall, so that the water is flowing more freely rather than taking the wall and revetment out to the sea. It'll withstand the waves and be able to stay in place. It did. So what we're seeing is the underneath infrastructure is being clogged, so they're coming up with new inventive ways how to prevent that from getting clogged. An example, instead of a straight pipe, they're going to put a T-pipe in so that the water exits in different directions, and then when the water's coming in, it's just hitting the T of the pipe and won't clog the pipe. Those are general maintenance plans, and we're going to increase and improve on those maintenance plans based on what the engineers are telling us to how to deal with the improvements that they put in place.
Yeah, this is going to be great. This is going to be a real shot in the arm to get this project off the ground. We've been working since storms in 2018 at what the full repairs and rebuilding of the revetments and stone walls along the seacoast and along 1A would look like. It's going to be an expensive project, so this grant, $20 million from the federal government for a Protect grant, is going to go a long way to getting that project off the ground. So we've been working on the design since 2018, so we're about 30% complete. This funding will help us move forward to construction. So the first phase, we're looking to design and advertise for 2026 and build in the end of 2026, 2027. Subsequent phases, as funding dictates, we'll get to, but ideally in the next 5 to 6 years, we'd like to be able to rebuild all the fortifications along 1A. Any guardrails or anything as part of the work that we're doing, we would look at and do at the same time. But primarily what we'd be looking at is focusing on kind of rebuilding the revetments and stone walls. A number of the areas to the south of here in particular have a lot of sidewalk damages and things like that will have to be looked at. Drainage becomes a big part of it as well, too, making sure that stormwater and drainage can outlet efficiently as well, too. So the biggest thing too from our standpoint is be able to hopefully reduce costs in the long run. The maintenance of maintaining these, the post-storm cleanup, to say nothing of the delays and impacts to the traveling public when roads are closed off for a substantial period of time because of the debris and stones and stuff. All stuff we want to get addressed. So.